How do tax cuts create short-term budget deficits? Imagine a situation where the government decides to lower taxes for individuals and businesses. Right away, this means less money coming in from taxes because people and companies are paying less. If the government keeps spending the same amount or even spends more, it has to borrow money to cover the difference. That borrowing adds to the national debt and causes a budget deficit. From the perspective of supply-side economics, which many conservatives support, the idea is that cutting taxes will boost the economy. The belief is that lower taxes encourage people to work more, invest in businesses, and start new ventures. This increased activity can lead to more jobs and higher wages, which over time might bring in more tax revenue. But this process takes time. In the short term, the immediate effect of tax cuts is a drop in government revenue. This happens because taxes on wages, profits, and investments are reduced right away. The government still has to pay for things like roads, schools, defense, and health care, so if it does not cut spending, it has to borrow money to fill the gap. This borrowing increases the budget deficit. Sometimes, tax cuts are temporary or have sunset provisions, meaning they expire after a certain period. If they are not extended or made permanent, the government might face even more uncertainty about future revenue. Also, if the government does not cut spending at the same time as taxes are cut, deficits will grow because the revenue loss is not offset. When the government borrows more money to cover the shortfall, it also has to pay interest on that debt. These interest payments add to the overall cost and widen the deficit further. This is why, even with the hope that tax cuts will eventually lead to more growth and higher revenues, the immediate impact is often a larger budget deficit. A real-world example is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. It lowered taxes significantly, and while supporters believed it would stimulate economic growth, official estimates showed it increased deficits by about $1 to $2 trillion over 10 years. This was mainly because the initial revenue loss was not fully balanced out by the growth that was expected to follow. In essence, tax cuts create short-term budget deficits because the government's income drops immediately, but its expenses stay the same or grow. The hoped-for economic growth takes time to happen, so in the meantime, the government has to borrow money, which makes the deficit bigger. Supporters of supply-side economics see this as a temporary step to boost the economy and eventually expand the tax base, but the short-term effect is usually a larger deficit.